In America, they want to make you feel like you don't exist and that you have no connection. So me coming here as a Black American, I feel at home. It's changed my life.
What does it feel like for a descendant of slavery to finally touch the soil of a nation that was never colonized?
And how does that connection fuel a global mission to save mothers' lives?
Today's conversation with Chanel Portiae Albert on the AGI podcast.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
In Amharic, doula means stick. In the global world, doula is an individual who provides emotional, physical, and spiritual support for someone through the childbirth process. Doulas do the same thing. We are there as a strong sense of support.
Whenever I think of the U.S., what I think about is everything is given. Isn't that true?
No, that's false.
All right.
And it's false in particular for Black Americans.
I realize you're really humble, but you went to high places and
Yes.
won awards. How does it feel?
My grandfather taught me one thing. He said, each man puts their pants one leg at a time. And to always remember that, and so even though you meet people in high and low places, they are still human beings.
Yeah.
In Ethiopia, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But as you are growing, I charge you all with making sure that you don't lose your traditions. Don't lose the essence of what it means to be a great nation and great people. Don't lose the essence of what it means to be welcoming.
If there is anything that you want me to learn at last.
Oh, what would I want you to learn?
So we don't have a formal tradition in here. We don't introduce our guests, saying we don't talk about them, the guests that we have in here. So what we do is we give them the chance to tell us about themselves. So
Okay.
this will be that moment, that time to give you the chance
Okay.
to tell me about yourself.
Okay. Well, one, thank you for having me here.
All right.
It's a pleasure to be able to sit in conversation with you. So my name is Chanel Portiae Albert. I'm going to start with my resume from being a parent. So I'm a mother of 6 children.
All right.
I am a doula trainer. I'm a commissioner on the New York City Commission for Gender Equity. I'm also a commissioner for the United States Commission on Civil Rights. I have worked in maternal health and reproductive health space since 2008. In my work, I've done work in Uganda, in Jamaica, in the United States. I've spoken at the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, in regards to maternal health and human dignity and human rights in maternal health. And I'm happy to be here in Ethiopia with you.
Amazing. So I was actually struggling with one of the terms that you used earlier.
Yes.
Doula.
Yes.
So we have a name, and the meaning of the term as you used it is not the same as how we use it in Amharic. So tell me about it.
Okay, so in Amharic, doula means stick. And in America and also in the global world, doula is an individual who provides emotional, physical, and spiritual support for someone through the childbirth process, right? So during pregnancy, during childbirth, and during the postpartum period. We offer information and education so someone can make an informed decision about their care. But it also is about lifting up their basic human rights within reproductive health care and access, right? And so understanding when someone's in the process of labor, they're in pain, right? And so what does it mean to provide compassionate care, respectful care, and dignity to someone while they're going through the childbirth process? Now here in Ethiopia and in Amharic, doula means stick. I'm sure people would automatically think like stick, you're going to hit somebody with a stick, right? But I want folks to really look at it from the perspective of, think about a stick as something as support, right? A stick, a staff, a stick offers support. It is something that is used to guide someone. And so doulas do the same thing. We are there as a strong sense of support We are there offering individuals a sense of guidance through their process, right? Not just for the woman who is giving birth, but for the family, right? For the husband, for the grandmother who may be there, for the auntie who may be there, for the community, understanding that birth is never just an individual process. It's a community celebration, right? When life comes into the world, that's a beautiful thing, you know, and when mothers are supported, and they feel good about the process that they have gone through, it not only helps them emotionally so that they can take care of their child, but also when they have better physical outcomes, right? It also helps them to be strong and to be able to care for their children in beautiful ways.
Amazing. So for us, for Ethiopians,
Yes.
the term is really new. I don't know, for the medical professionals,
Yes.
they may have an understanding as to what it is or what it entails actually, but I'm not familiar with the term. So I learned a lot reading about it.
Yes.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this happening in the US?
Yes.
I mean, I could understand if it is for a woman in African setting, for
Yeah.
example, in one of the countries in Africa, it could be in Ethiopia. But whenever I think of the US or developed countries in the
Right.
West, what I think about is everything is given. I mean, you have every support you want.
Right.
Isn't that true? Isn't that?
No, that's false.
All right.
And it's false in particular for Black Americans, right?
All right.
And also folks of the African diaspora, right? So there's this assumption that because the U.S. is an industrialized nation, you're automatically going to have access. And yes, you do have access to some things. I don't want to say like blankly you don't, right? But I think it's relative to understanding that racism plays a huge role in the impact of what Black and brown people have access to in folks of the African diaspora. So even though you may not necessarily be Black American, if you are coming from the African diaspora, you know, you too are facing the same things eventually that Black Americans face, right? When it comes to accessing healthcare, when it comes to accessing housing and other resources, you're going to come in contact with systemic oppressions that are built on the basis of race, right? And racial categorizations. In America, you know, Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die of a childbirth-related complication. And, you know, in New York, we're 9 to 12 times more likely to die of a pregnancy-related complication. That means that us just walking in the door is already putting us at risk for possibly not coming back out of that same door. Right. Wow. And the things that we have to face, the structural barriers that we face in terms of accessing healthcare now. So it's not just based on race, but it's also based on socioeconomics, right? The rich and the poor, who has access to services and who deserves access to services. And so the doula is really like a balancing of the scales. What we've done is we've worked really hard to say that everyone, regardless of, you know, your socioeconomic standing, you should have access to quality healthcare, right? You know, our healthcare infrastructure, even though it is a highly industrialized place, we don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough midwives. We don't have enough nurses. You know, there is a bottleneck of resources. You know, when you have a high volume hospital that's seeing maybe 3,000 patients plus a year, there are going to be shortfalls. And those shortfalls oftentimes happen with us, with people who look like just like me, right? The people who look just like you. And so, you know, the doula there has been a space to really bridge the gap in care, right? To be a mediator. And in that space, we're really advocates, right? So where we're, you know, focused on being able to offer compassionate support, when we're focusing on, you know, being able to provide health education, to provide resources and things of that nature, we also have to advocate for just human rights and dignity, right? To be seen within care. We don't have enough doctors and midwives who look like us, right? And so then you come in contact with someone who already has a bias against you based on the color of your skin, right? Here, bringing it to Ethiopia is different, right? Because everyone looks the same, right? But it's more about really being able to focus on bridging the gap in healthcare, right? Where people can experience compassionate care, where people can feel like they're being supported, where fathers can feel like they're being supported, where community members can feel like, oh, I'm being seen and I'm being heard. So regardless of your level of education, regardless of how much money you make, right? You should still be able to access that same level of human rights and dignity and care, respectful care at birth, right? Feeling like you had a say, that someone included you in the process, that they weren't just doing things to you and to your body, but they wanted to educate you on it, right? So that you became a stronger, right? As not just as a nation, but as a mother, right? Because the first educator for a child is who?
Parents.
It's the parents.
Yeah.
It's the mom.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely, right?
Yeah.
And so in understanding that, when the mom feels supported, then she can support the child.
Yeah.
Right? So, which means then you're carrying on a tradition of raising strong children, right? Who become strong leaders within their communities, right? Who then go out and want to provide that same level of support to others.
Why bring you to Ethiopia though?
Ethiopia holds a special place in my heart as a woman of the Rastafarian faith, you know, as coming here as a nation that's never been colonized. You know, we look to you as Black Americans and as Rastafarians as the blueprint for what it means to be a strong, independent nation, right? To be a nation that is filled with people who are caring, who look out for one another, who have a strong warrior spirit, you know, but who also are looking towards the direction of growth and development, right? Who are looking to be a catalyst for change and progression, right? And so when I came here, I automatically was touched by the women and the people that I met because I felt at home. You know, you all have a way of welcoming people, you know what I mean? Like to sit and to break bread with someone and to eat together, to be able to extend an arm, you know, and I asked when I was teaching, you know, this past week, you know, I noticed that when there's an extension, you know, you support your arm. That means that you're giving someone a steady hand. You know what it means to like give someone a strong hand of support, right? And, you know, to see the way in which Black men, you know, embrace each other, right? And look at each other, to see the way in which women carry themselves, right? How children carry themselves, to have that level of pride. That brings me hope and brings me pride. That makes me want to bring my children here so that they can experience the same thing, you know? And so I was like, how can I support? And so, you know, automatically wanting to go into the maternal health space, seeing, you know, some of the gaps in care, right? And saying, wait a minute, like some of this can be easily fixed, right? And everything is not necessarily about money, right? Some of it is just about how we choose to care for one another, how we choose to support one another, how we choose to see one another, which is really, really important. And I think sometimes we get caught up, all of us, right? Whether we're in the African diaspora or here within Ethiopia, in the mechanics of things and how things work, that we oftentimes forget what it means for us to connect on a human level. And so I really want to see that be brought into the maternal health space as well.
Amazing. But that's not the only profession that you have.
No.
I heard that you are also a professor, and there are other things as well, other hats that you put on. So tell me about those areas.
Yeah, so I teach public policy, focused on reproductive health policy. And so what does it mean to make structural changes within the government, right? And so, you know, my students are, you know, college students all the way up to adults, working professionals who are working in governmental sectors, or who are looking to work within, you know, become lawyers, who are working, who want to work internationally within the human rights space. What it means, you know, how policy can change infrastructure. So as a doula, I realized that although I can offer one-on-one care, what was really missing too was the government being involved, right? What was missing was policy changes, and really being able to make things concrete, right? Because I can offer a training, I can offer care, but then how does that become sustainable, right? And that can only become sustainable with true implementation of that policy and accountability, right? And so I really wanted to see that. So within the context of the United States, you know, I've worked on the city, state, and federal level, working with the federal government to really shift the ways in which, you know, care, maternal health care in particular, shifts for Black women, right? And Black women of the African diaspora, so that we can make sure that we have dignified care. But not only that, but also building up the workforce understanding that there is a workforce shortage, understanding that traditionally this was care that was seen for people who were rich or who had a high socioeconomic standing, and saying, no, every person, if you want to have a strong nation, then you have to have strong women. You can only do that. And if you invest in them, right? And that investment takes the government, the willingness from the government to change the healthcare policies that they have. And so through legislation, we have been able to do that. We've been able to create policies that now say that the government has to pay for doulas, right? So I train them to be able to go out. So you're building up your workforce, right? You're closing the gap in care. You're reducing maternal health outcomes that were poor, right? Such as high infant and maternal mortality rates or pregnancy-related complications that arise by having this other individual who's in the space, and the government is going to pay for it. The government is going to pay you a wage so that you can sustain yourself and you can have a livelihood.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. I was actually thinking about Ethiopian mothers coming from different part of the country to Addis.
Yes.
And there is a language barrier. People don't speak. I mean, all of them, all the people that are seeking for some kind of support in regards to giving birth or other things, don't speak the language that we speak at the Addis level, the federal level. So how do you support them? I mean, you only speak English.
I only speak English, right? So, the great thing about being a doula is about human connection.
Yeah.
So it transcends you being able to speak a particular language. I went to a health center last week, and there was someone who was giving birth, and as I was, and she speaks Amharic. Excuse me. And I don't. And it wasn't about that. It was really about the eye contact that I made with her, looking her in the eyes, being able to use certain hand gestures to say, okay, breathe with me, calm down. Being able to say, okay, come, stand up with me. We ended up moving and swaying together. And she was able to visibly calm down while she was having labor contractions, right? She was able to visibly relax. And she wanted to continue that support because it felt good. Being a doula is about human connection. And I think, with the modernization of the way in which the world is, we're kind of sometimes moving away from that. And the fact that our societies have always been built around community, about us working together, and about human connection, about seeing one another. And ultimately, that's what the doula is doing. So I've supported many women who we couldn't speak. She didn't understand me. I didn't understand her. But at the end of it, we end up laughing, or we end up crying together, or we end up hugging each other, right? I was able to support her, and she felt supported. Because it's not about the language. It's about how you make someone feel. And that surpasses everything. Because people literally just want to be seen. They want to be heard, and they want to know that someone genuinely cares about them at the end of the day. So I've worked with folks even in America who are in rural areas, who don't speak, there's different customs, there's different languages, there's people who are coming from the African diaspora. There's people coming who speak, maybe the language. We recently had a lot of migrants who came from South America. And some of the languages that they spoke were indigenous language from the Amazon. Wow. And no one spoke the language, right? And these were women who were scared. But through the care that we offer them, they were able to relax. Through the care that we offer them, they were able to see, oh, this person genuinely wants to help me, and they're not trying to get anything from it. And I think it goes to the principle of there's one hand to give and one hand to receive. And that's ultimately what the doula is trying to do,
All right. I realize you're really humble, but you went to high places and won awards. And how does it feel to be that person who can actually support these people who are vulnerable, who don't have the support system, and go to those places and meet those individuals who are in power?
I've never been asked that question before. This is the first time. One is humbling, but I also know that the work that I'm doing has been guided by the Most High, and it's not me, right? it's easy to let ego become something that gets into place when you meet certain people, right? And you think that you have a certain level. But my grandfather taught me one thing. He said, each man puts their pants leg on one leg at a time. And to always remember that, and so even though you meet people in high and low places, they are still human beings. Mm-hmm. They too are also having human experiences. And I'm not doing this for the gratification of self. I'm doing this for the gratification of the Most High, for the glory of Rastafari, right? To honor just our our humanness, right? And what it really means. So yes, I've sat in many different rooms with many high people. I've been interviewed by the Vice President of the United States, for the work that I have done. And she was able to see it, which is really humbling. And people ask me that too. They are like, oh, well, how was it meeting the Vice President, and I'm like, she's a person, like it was wonderful. But my ultimate goal is, how is it going to help and serve the people of a nation? So, is the goal is not to just be in those spaces, but it's really to transform the way in which people are able to get care. I really and truly want to see us be our best selves, and to me, and I'm going to try not to cry. To me, that's the greatest honor and the greatest blessing, It is because I think I've been really humble that I've been able to be invited into those spaces, that people see the works and the works are able to speak for themselves.
Oh, I mean, I was thinking about it and going through the documents, and this highly educated person is doing all these things. I was thinking about a cause. What is the starting point, or what caused it? And why did you want to be there? Like, you're from New York.
Yes.
I mean, a metropolitan person.
Yes.
Having access to all kind of things, entertainment, finance, and everything.
Yeah.
What caused it?
I think it was a evolution of things. When I went to college, I learned about Pan-Africanism. I learned about, people within the African diaspora. I learned about the great leaders, here in Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a great nation. I learned about Haile Selassie. I learned about Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Patrice Lumumba, all of these different individuals who weren't only looking at how they were saving their own nations and the ways in which their own nations needed to be lifted up, but also we're looking at how people within America were being centered as well, right? In the cause of Black Americans, folks like Marcus Garvey, right? And learning about those things and feeling like, oh, I'm connected to something that's bigger, that's greater than myself. And then going to New York. New York is a melting pot of many different people from the Caribbean, folks from all over the African diaspora, different religions, different ethnicities, and being able to, commune with each other, right? To have conversations about what it means for us to come from our respective places, but also honor one another and be unified around a goal and a mission of advancing Africa as a continent, but then our individual countries as well, and feeling connected to that. And as a Black American, that's having gone through the transatlantic slave trade and not feeling necessarily connected to one nation, but then meeting all these different people throughout the African diaspora and then making you feel at home and telling you, dude, that's all right. Wherever you are, you're at home is something that is beautiful. So then, being in New York, you're around it all the time. I met my husband in a health food store, and we've been married for 18 years now. Wow. And, our first child, our son, was born at home with a midwife and a doula. Wow. And the care that she offered us it changed my life. I was like, why don't more women know that they have this opportunity? And I took a training myself, and then I started supporting women. And I started to see how they were treated. I saw how if English wasn't your first language, you were oftentimes dismissed. You were seen as other. They wouldn't offer you the care that they know that they should. I saw the ways in which when fathers would stand up for their wives, how they would have the police called on them, or even how children were taken away from parents because maybe you couldn't read or write, right? And just seeing all of that, I was like, something needs to change. And so my husband and I, we opened up our home and, we fed people and I started to hear their stories and figure out how I could help. And it started from that, and it's grown to where it is now. But it started with just wanting to do something. And so when people say to me like, oh, well, we don't have the money to do this and the money to do that, it's not about the money. It's about your heart. In your heart, do you have the willingness to want to do something? Do you have the willingness to want to change someone's life? Do you have the willingness to want to, and do you feel connected to your fellow man, to your fellow woman? Do you feel like you're in community with someone? And I feel like it's a moral obligation of all of us to want to be better and to see our fellow neighbor be better, And so it started from a humble place, and it continues to be those humble beginnings that continue to drive where we are and how we're able to make different moves and to be able to speak to different people and to be in certain rooms, because it didn't start out as a place where we were trying to make money or we were trying to do something because of ego, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. What's next for the practice in relation to in connection to Africa, the continent?
Yes.
And there are other places, the islands, the Caribbean islands.
Yes.
Maybe you want to take the practice too.
Yes.
So what is the plan?
So the plan is, in the Caribbean, we are starting a pilot in St. Lucia. And so we've met with, the St. Lucian Ministry of Health and are working on ways in which to bring this work there. Within, here in Addis, working, we're going to have a pilot. When we're starting off with a pilot to see that the folks who we trained, how do we now put this in practice and how does it impact birth outcomes and help not just the patients, but also the health professionals and the work that they're doing and being able to bridge the gap in care. A large component of that is going to be data. And my husband, who also is like my right hand in all things when it comes to ancient song. He's also our data and research director, Dr. Chanel Albert. He really is working on making sure that data is coming through, right? And that data is going to be able to present it to the health ministry and say, listen, this is what we see, right? We've seen the preliminary data, and this is how things have changed and progressed, right? Based on this, and then to see it grow. There's a possibility of traveling to Rwanda next year. And meeting with some folks there to talk about women's health issues and how we can support and bring it there as well. And so it's really a movement to be able to connect and really bring up, maternal health and reproductive health. I've worked in Uganda as well previously, in providing maternal health strategy and finding ways to be able to support. Here's the thing. I realize that I am a Black American, and I also understand the ways in which Westernized culture plays a role in also oftentimes thinking that they can come into someone's home and tell them what to do. This is not my intention. My intention is to be able to learn from the people and with the people, and then to be able to offer sustainability and growth, right? So it's not about me taking, right? It's about me being able to give, but also to see the continuity and care. How can we keep this so that it keeps going for generation to generation so that we can be stronger nations, stronger countries, and stronger people, right? And the only way that happens is if we have a willingness to want to learn from each other, right? And so this is why I don't come here. And the first thing I do is say, oh, this is what I want to do. The first thing I did was I did research. I went around. I went to Shashamani. I saw health clinics there. I was able to go to different health clinics here in Addis for 2 years, and then I came back, right? And then even before, and coming back this time, also going and seeing how things have changed over time, and then incorporating that into the training. So the great thing about the training is that it's unique to every place where I go. Right? It's not saying that it has to be standardized to one particular place. It's understanding Ethiopia is a very spiritual place. It's a very religious place. It's a very conservative place. And so me being very intentional about making sure that I was bringing forth those traditions, bring and honoring the people that are here and making sure that the training transferred in that way to the people who are receiving it, that it was respectful to them, that I wasn't coming across with this Western ideas and concepts of what I think something should be, but that it was coming from the Ethiopian people themselves. And that is something that I have been very intentional about since I've stepped on this continent the very first time, is that I want the footprint that I have to be something that is not destructive, but that helps to offer sustainability and growth.
It is actually refreshing to hear someone of your caliber talk about Africa and Ethiopia in this way, and it makes me feel like, okay, we matter. We're valued. It's big. But how does it feel as an African American to touch the land of Africa, or to step on Ethiopia, or one of the countries in Africa?
It is transformative. Because in America, they want to make you feel like you don't exist and that you have no connection. They work really, really hard and are very intentional about separating you and othering you, right? To a fault. Because they don't want us to be connected to this place. They don't want us to be connected. They want us to feel like, oh, you have no home. And I think that also, and that's where, and it's deliberate division, right? So like the best way to see you not grow, a nation grow, is to divide and conquer, right? If I can divide you and I can other you, right? And if I can make Africans who are coming from the continent, right? And Black Americans feel like, oh, one is better than the other. One works harder than the other. One has more culture than the other. One knows who they are and the other one doesn't. One has a food and the other one doesn't. Oh, you have opportunities. Oh, the other one doesn't. Oh, let me look at you like you're poor. Oh, let me look at you like you have everything. When in reality, we're all the same. We may experience things in a different way, but we're all the same. And it's very, very intentional. There's a certain level of intentionality of the Western society. And when I say this, and I mean this, and it's not all Europeans, but it's a lot of them, right? Who do not want to see us unified and do not want to see us grow. Imagine what it would look like if all of us who are Black Americans, right? We come and we share education and the knowledge that we have, and you all share the education and the knowledge that you have with us. And what that would mean in terms of us being a powerful nation and growing. That's dangerous. No one wants to see that, right? But it has to happen. And there are bridges that are being built to see that happen, right? Because if we can learn from one another, then we can support one another. And then we can have strong nations. We can grow, right? There's no reason why anyone has to be impoverished. There is no reason why anybody shouldn't have equitable health care. There's no reason why anyone shouldn't have equitable housing or running water. We have the same things that are happening here where you may not have access to clean water. That's happening in Black communities. We have the overusage of we have chemical plants that are being purposely put in our neighborhoods so Black people can get sick. You know, they have a place in Louisiana called Cancer Alley where factories come and they set up shop, and Black people are getting sick and they continuously don't want to hear from them. Right. And it's intentional. There's been an intentionality of every time we've grown something to try to destroy it and to make it separate. You know, there's been an intentionality to see Black men be seen as less than, right, to be criminalized. Right. And also the perception to give the African diaspora the perception that that's what it is, too. And that's not reality. That is not what is actually happening. And so it's really, really important for all of us to work together to remove that propaganda and to be intentional about bridging the gap in how we care for each other, you know, because it's really powerful. So me coming here as a Black American, I feel at home. It's changed my life. It makes me feel connected to something greater than myself. You know, it gives me a sense of purpose and a sense of direction. You know, you never want to be a lost people who are like, you know, out in the wilderness, you know, and being here it's a guiding light. You know, it's a light. You all offer a light, and you have to know that, you know, especially as a nation that says that is very proud that has never been colonized. Do you know what that means? When every other nation has been colonized, that means that there has been some sort of Western influence that has happened directly, where people now have to celebrate an independence. That means that you weren't independent. You weren't free, right? And so that means, and even now, people have quasi-freedom. Is it real freedom? You know, are you really free from the ways in which like imperialism and the other things have like placed a hole within your nation? And so it is really, really important that we as African people and people of African descent, that we work together, that we are intentional about the ways in which we love and we center each other. And that's going to take a level of vulnerability that we probably have never experienced before. It's going to take the vision of our ancestors and what our ancestors wanted for us. Think about why the African Union was created. Because they had, you know, Haile Selassie and other African delegates and ambassadors and presidents. They had a vision for what Africa could be, right? And to know that it all centers right here in this space. You know, so that is something, that's a high responsibility. And so I, as a Black American, don't take it lightly, you know, and I task the Ethiopian people with not taking it lightly either, because we're looking to you for guidance and for direction.
It's really humbling to hear you say all those things about Ethiopia and Africa. Living inside Ethiopia and interacting with the people and having this experience, even sometimes having this experience with leaders of different countries in Ethiopia, you don't feel like you're that. I mean, that person.
Yeah, but you are that person.
I mean, hearing it from somebody else, especially coming from you, and making that emphasis upon the point that we were never colonized and all those things. It makes you feel like there is a responsibility that you have to carry, and there is a lot of things that you have to do.
Yes.
So I feel that way, but we tend to forget and engage in other things as any human would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I'm taking a lot of things. That's why I'm telling you all these things.
Yeah, no, and again, that's why I said, you know, even coming here now and seeing the way in which, you know, Addis is being built up in Ethiopia, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But as you are growing, I charge you all with making sure that you don't lose your traditions. Don't lose the essence of what it means to be a great nation and great people. Don't lose the essence of what it means to be welcoming and to welcome people, right? Be as advanced as we have always been as African people, because we've always been advanced nations. Others would like to say that we haven't been, right? But we have always had our own ancient technologies and the ways in which we have centered each other and have built up our nations, right? And so remember those ancient technologies, right, as you grow and you develop, because those are the things that are going to sustain you and keep you from being colonized. Because there's a trap that you can get caught in, right, and wanting to be advanced, you know what I mean, and understanding that advancement. So there has to be a balance between the two, I think, you know, in observation. As someone who, you know, I'm 46 years old, and I grew up in a space of an analog world, but also the digital world, right? So I've seen the way in which, yes, you know, advancement is important, but also you lose some of the essence of what it means to be in community with one another. You lose some of the traditions that you had, you know, in terms of, because now you have this thing that's in front of you, right? And now you have like these lights in all of the, you know, it can be a tool that can help, or it could be a tool that can destroy. And so we have to, so the same way we're here and we're able to engage with each other and we're able to bring knowledge to other people all over the world through us conversing. And that's a tool to help to advance. It could also be a tool that can be used to harm. And so we have to be just very intentional, I think, about the ways in which people grow, you know, and especially Ethiopia. And you're growing really fast, you know, and you know, making sure that people don't get left behind in the process, you know, of the day-to-day movement. Because we all do it, you know what I mean? I'm not remiss from it either, you know, like we get caught up in the trappings of the things, right? That we sometimes forget. And like for me, coming here was a way for me to be able to remember.
Amazing. Amazing. Have you ever been to a place in Africa, maybe a historical site or one of those places, and told like, I wasn't expecting this?
What do you, in what context do you mean?
Oh, okay, amazing. So, I mean, there is a depiction of Africa in the movies, they give you a glimpse of some place.
Yeah.
And when you go to that place, it's glorious.
Oh, yeah. So yeah. Yes, I have.
Something happened to me. For example, the first time I went to Lalibela. It is from a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
It's glorious.
Yes.
What I thought it was and what I saw,
It's two totally different things.
totally different.
Yes. So just coming here, you know, and again, reading about, you know, Ethiopian history, right? So like, you know, the Battle of Adwa, or learning about Empress Menen, right? And Haile Selassie, or, you know, being able to visit like the palaces, like Jubilee Palace, or going to Trinity Church, or, being able to step on the grounds where I know like great leaders have stood, right? And who have fought for like nationhood and for its people, is I was flabbergasted, you know, like I went to, you know, going to Jubilee Palace and seeing the cars, right, that they have there, and like seeing the pictures in books, right? Or like, you know, I remember even going to Uganda and being in Gulu, and, you know, you see oftentimes when they show you pictures of Africa, they want to show you like, you know, the rural areas, right, that are not developed. They never show you the city.
Definitely.
Never. You never see the city, right? So I remember going, you know, and seeing the mall. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a mall? Like, nobody told me there was any mall. I could go shopping. Hold on. Like, I like to shop, right? And so like, you know, being able to go to the mall, or like, you know, like even here, like coffee, right? And going, like, there's so many different coffee houses, right? Yeah. But like a coffee house in America is very transactional. You go, you get your coffee, they're like, all right, bye. But like to see people like sit down, to have someone serve you, to get like a really good cup of coffee, right? And to enjoy it and know that it's like a different type of experience. Or to go into rural areas, right? And places that are not as developed, and see, like, you know, they would show you like a hut, right? And they show you like something that's like looks dusty, and you're like, well, then when I saw these places, there were places that it was this traditional home, but people had like solar panels. Right. Or like I saw folks who like had like these beautiful flower gardens that were, you know, in front of their homes. And, you know, you go inside and some of them were gigantic. Right. And you go inside and there's these beautiful round like enclaves, and there's like modern furniture inside. And you're like, wait. I'm totally confused. Like nobody showed me any of this. And so like, you know, this is where like social media comes in handy, right? Because we now have like this cultural exchange where we can actually see like what's going on. And, you know, and even like seeing how Black American culture has also influenced the African diaspora, right? In certain ways. Like I would, you know, be riding through a village and hear like, I don't know, a rapper, and be like, wait, where am I? Like, am I in the same place? Or, you know, like, or seeing like, you know, hearing certain vernacular, or like the way in which like young people are dressing, right? And I'm like, well, that's like the culture that we bring. So then that means that we also have influence on, you know, and then like, you know, the fashion that I've seen that come here, right? And like, I was like, oh, I need to go to the fashion shows, and I need to go shopping. Like, you know what I mean? Because we don't have those, you know, we don't have a lot of African and Black designers. We have some, but to be able to see like the different concepts that come out of like traditional wear and traditional fabrics, and to be able to like, you know, me tell my husband, like, I need your card so I can go shopping. Like all of that, you know, is amazing. You know what I mean? And that is not the vision that we are shown, you know? So like even myself, you know, on my social media, like I've been intentional about showing folks what it's been like here in Addis, you know, the the highways, the streets, like people are like, oh, what is it like? And I'm like, it's amazing. You know what I mean? Like you should visit, you know what I mean? You should come and check it out and experience it. I brought my staff here this time.
All right.
Yeah. And even my staff was like, I don't know if I want to go back to America. You know what I mean? So like that kind of influence that like the African, Ethiopia and other African countries has, it just needs to be exposed more because we're not seeing that. As much. And so the more we travel and the more we're able to experience those things, the more we want to come to these places and we want to see, what it's like to experience the food, to experience the culture, to want to, stay, and to invest in society too. Because here I feel comfortable. Like I don't have to fear for my life. I don't have to fear for my son's life. I don't have to fear for my husband's life when he goes out and walks out of the door. Here, people look like us. Like there's different, of course, there's things everywhere you go. No place is perfect, right? But there's a different level of comfort that you can feel when you have people who see you. And the first thing they see is not necessarily, your race, that, oh, I'm a Black woman, right? There's not this automatic perception that I'm aggressive, Now I know when I open up my mouth, that's something different, right? Because now I got a westernized tongue. That's not my fault, though, people. Anybody who's watching, that's not my fault. And I'm working really hard to learn another language, But I just remember even coming here and be calling, I was called a Mzungu, right, or a Ferengi, and my feelings was hurt.
Because you speak.
Because I speak English. And because of my accent, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And, as a Black American coming here for the first time, you're like, wait a minute, isn't that like white people? That's what you call white Westerners, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not white. I'm like, I'm not white. I'm not that. You know what I mean? Like, don't associate me with that. You know what I mean? That is not it. You know what I mean?
You don't have to see it from the lens of like, it's being negative. It's not like that. We kind of think like if you speak English and you have this American accent and you are expressive about things, you're telling us about this and that, and we think that you're educated, you're modern, you understand technology, you understand what is happening in the world. So that is our way of showing you a respect to call you Ferengi.
Yeah. Well, the first time I heard it though, I was like, wait a minute. And again, it's because of the perception, right? That is oftentimes given, and I want to be seen first as a Black woman. Yeah. And as one who is contributing to society. Yeah. And I know, like, I've been Americanized. That's where I grew up, so there are going to be certain things and customs that I perpetuate because of that. Right. But what I've also realized in coming to, to Ethiopia and to going to other places is that there are some things that are within our DNA that we all just do as Black people, no matter where we grew up. Like to see the way in which Black men greet each other. That's universal. You know what I mean? Like I've seen Black men in America greet, like hey, you know what I mean? Like that, you know what I mean? Like it's a universal thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like a head nod, or like, certain sounds that we make is the same sounds that we make in as Black Americans. I've never been here before, right? But this connection, even the food, right? And tasting like gomen, that's collard greens. That's what we eat at home. You know what I mean? And how we eat it. You know what I mean? Or like certain ways that we make peas, right? Black eyed peas, right? We call it black eyed peas. They're like the gray beans that have like the black center. Yeah. Same foods, okra, right? And how, we cook it and how you all cook it. Some of the same dishes. And to understand that ancestrally, like there is something that connects us that is deeper than the languages that we speak, than the clothes that we may be wearing at a particular moment, than the traditions that we have as individuals, but also as communities and as nations, that it just transcends all of that. You know what I mean? Because I've been around people from Nigeria,
All right.
from Ghana, from Ethiopia, from others. And there's always something that is similar. Whether even some words, people in the Caribbean, certain words that you all say is the same words that we say, you know? And you may not necessarily, we don't know where it comes from, but it's something that is passed down from generation to generation, right? And that makes me know that we're more connected than we are different.
All right.
Yeah.
There's this thing crossing my mind a lot. And I think I heard President Obama say in one of these podcasts in the US, talking about leaders that he met different times, and he was telling, I'm paraphrasing the whole thing. He was saying, you don't have to think everyone that is in high position to be smart, sophisticated, and probably he made these people that he told are smart because they're leading big countries, and he was laid down maybe. Have you ever faced that kind of thing? Tell me your experience.
Because I think, we're always taught, I think all of us, is the goal is to get to the table.
Yeah.
Right? And so like once you get to the table, then you've made it. And then I would get to these tables and be around some of these high officials and be like, really? Like I remember being at one of top broadcasting, CNN. I was at CNN. And we were there, and there were other top officials that were there, and it was for a meeting, and we were all having lunch. And this one woman, she was eating, and she was just like, like, you ever met somebody who just, you're like, okay, you don't have no manners, and you're just questioning, you're questioning the level of manners. And so I was flabbergasted by the situation, because I was just like, here you are, this person of high, stature, and you're eating like no one taught you any better. You know what I mean? Like you don't have any training, or I would meet folks and, you realize the concept and the ideas that they have. You wonder, like, is it really coming from you? Yeah. Or is it coming from other people? Because the ways in which they would articulate themselves or they would carry themselves, or even how they treated other people, right? So sometimes there's, I've met people where their perception on the outside is that they're very welcoming and they're very warm. Yeah. And this is the persona that they give off to other people. But behind closed doors, that is not how they are. People are not necessarily happy with the ways in which that they feel. You dehumanize people. You're condescending. You don't speak to people like, they're human beings. Yeah. And, again, I think that's another reason why, being in these spaces, I'm just like, you're a human being. You're a person. You've just been either elected or placed in this position of power. So then my thing is, well, then how are you wielding that position of power? Are you doing it for your own self-gratification, or are you doing it for the advancement of your people? And it should always be people first before person, So when Obama makes that statement, I totally and completely get it. Because again, we have been always taught, and I know Black Americans, we've been taught, pull yourself up from your bootstraps, go and get an education, get a good job, become this person, this professional, so people can see you and they can respect you. You have to dress a certain way. You have to have your hair a certain way. You have to talk a certain way. Your name has to be a certain way. So even if you had a name that was perceived as Barack Obama, his name is very African, right? That was seen as a no-no. You couldn't have an African name, right? And so like my name is European, right? And so, you get more, you'll advance more if you have an English name as opposed to if you have a traditional African name. All of those things play a role in how we see each other and how we're able to navigate in those spaces. For a long time, in the beginning, I did think I had to do those certain things. I thought I had to dress a certain way. I thought I had to act a certain way. And then I realized, no, at the end of the day, it's more important to just be genuine and be yourself. Because otherwise those people will disappoint you. Absolutely. I think sometimes we elevate people to such a high standard, and we don't realize that they're humans who have fault. As well. And then when they don't meet those expectations, we're completely thrown off. And, no, I think at those moments, that's the time where you have to really stay the course and understand that you've been put in that position for a reason.
Amazing. Tell me about your support system. Like you've been mentioning your husband a lot, and
Yeah.
I believe there are other people that you want to thank. Oh, you want to appreciate actually. So tell me about that, because thinking about you, having this conversation with you, I don't think you made it this far just because of your strengths. You've been mentioning your dad and a lot of other people along the way. So tell me about your support system.
So my support system for a long time was, of course, my parents.
All right.
But my mother passed away when I was 14,
All right.
and my father, a little later. My grandparents, played a huge role in where I am and influenced me. They were government officials.
All right.
They held roles in the government. And I would go and visit them at their offices, especially my grandmother. She held a position of power. And I would see her at her desk. And I didn't realize as a child how much it influenced me. But it did a lot. My uncles, they too, one of them was in politics and a political leader.
All right.
So all of them played a huge role in, just my upbringing and how I see myself. I was always taught, when you go outside, you don't only represent yourself, you represent your family and you represent your name. So they influenced me a lot, and I tried to stay clear of politics and not being in that space, because I saw the how you can get caught up in all of it. A lot of it is ego. A lot of it is compromise, and sometimes you have to compromise yourself and your integrity, and that's not something that I like. It doesn't make me feel good, and that's not something that I wanted. And I wanted to be able to be in a space where I could, be myself. And so, they have played a role. I think I would say now, my children, because I want them to be proud of me.
Wow.
They play a huge. I want them to grow up in a world where they are seen, and where they can be active members of society and feel like they're connected to something. But I mentioned my husband because I have to mention my husband, because he has been my biggest supporter, like through everything. He has, there's been times where he stopped working so that I can pursue my education, right, and so that I can, pursue what I've wanted to do and support community, because he saw the vision and, for not just for myself, but for our family and for our community. He has been the educator of our children. He has supported me in this work, right? And understanding the things, he's highly educated. He graduated. He has a doctorate, graduated from NYU. And, he... everything he does is from his heart. He's has a strong exterior, but he wants to see the Black man be elevated. He wants to see the Black family be elevated and the Black community be elevated. He wants to see his children. He's very dedicated to his children and want to see them grow and be, highly educated. And so he pushes them to be their best selves in everything that they do. But I also have my sister, my sister who has, been my younger sister, who has been one of my biggest supporters and, community members. There's folks in the community who either I helped them during their childbirth or, we've helped them in terms of, supporting their children in other ways, who have also been great influences on me. I have what I call many surrogate mothers. Some of them, are in the federal government. They're politicians. Right. Some are midwives. But they all have played a role in how I'm able to show up for people and for others.
Great. Okay. This is going to be my last question probably, but I just want to know about this. I had people from Ivy League schools from the US, like Columbia, Brown, and other universities. But You taught in those schools, Colombia.
Yes.
How does it feel to teach in those schools?
How did it feel? I mean, it was great. You know, I had a diverse group of students. You know, it's one of those moments where you have access to all of the things, right? And so as an educator, when you know, I can go and I'm like, oh, let's go to the simulation area, right? And you have all of the tools and all of the resources, right? I can go and not only can I show you the theoretical portion of the work that I'm talking to you about, but we can go into a simulation training area that looks like a hospital room or looks like a hospital floor. And I can show you how these things play out in real time. Having resources is amazing, right? And being able to access those things is great, you know? So, you know, I appreciate it. But I also I do want to, you know, one of my goals too is I would love to teach at a historically Black college or university, such as Howard University, right? Who, you know, Washington, D.C. has played a huge role on people in the African diaspora. It's brought up a lot of leaders. You know, Morehouse College, you know, there's Spelman College, there's traditionally Black colleges and universities, and those are seen as the Ivy Leagues of of us as African people. And so while, you know, those institutions are great. I mean, I've taught at Barnard, which is another private institution, you know, that's Ivy. They're great, but they also have their limitations.
All right.
Right? In terms of a lot of the students don't look like me. Right? So while I appreciate and I'm humbled to be able to teach folks of all different ethnicities and nationalities, you know, in those spaces, we don't have enough people of African descent. Right? And so I would love to be able to either come and teach here at Addis Ababa University.
Great.
And be able to you know, have folks where they look like me, right? Amazing. And they see a teacher that looks like them. You know, that same feeling that you said that folks have, and be able to pass that on to others. Yeah.
Okay. The whole time you were saying things, I was actually immersed in the conversation and I was listening to each and every word you said. I am really humbled. But as a brother who likes to learn a lot,
yes.
If there is anything that you want me to learn at last.
Oh, what would I want you to learn? To make sure that you honor yourself so that you can honor others. And to always remember the essence of why you decide to do something, right? To understand that although you are one person, you can have a huge impact on other people. And how we choose to treat people has a lasting effect for generations. And I don't think that oftentimes we realize that, right? And so the conversations that we have or we don't have, the ways in which we choose to be intentional about seeing people or not seeing people, the way in which you choose to show up for yourself, but show up for others, impacts, again, generations, right? Because you never know how you are going to change someone's life. And so just always remember that level of responsibility, because it's never just to yourself. It's always to your family first, to your community, and then to your nation. And the only way that we can be a great nation of people is if we continue to remember that. So, yeah.
The only thing I could say is I'm just humbled.
Good, thanks.
I love the whole conversation and I would have it for 5 hours maybe. But this will not be the last time we'll be having this conversation. We'll be having
more
similar conversations.
Yes.
More. And I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and for, creating space for a conversation like this. And I look forward to coming back to talk to you about what's going on in terms of the maternal health space and
Absolutely.
How it's shifting and changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank
you so much.
Thank
All right.
you.